This is Mr. Humphrey Ibudunyash recording for Mrs. Margaret Catherine and Miss Connie. The 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. Chapter 14. Christian is standing over me, grasping a pileated leather riding crop. He's wearing old feather-ribbed levis, and that's all. He flicks the crop slowly into his palm as he gazes down at me. He's smiling triumphant. I cannot move. I'm naked and shackled, spread eagled on a large four-poster bed. Reaching forward, he tells the tip of crop from my forehead down the length of my nose, so I can smell the leather, and over my parted, panting lips. He pushed the tips into my mouth, so I can taste the smooth, rich leather. Suck, he commands, his voice softly. My mouth closes over the tips, and I obey enough. He snaps. I'm panting once more as he tugs the crop out of my mouth, trails it down and under my chin, on down my neck to the hollow at the base of my throat. He swells it slowly there and then continues to drag the tips down my body, along my sternums, between my breasts, over my toes, down to my navel. I'm panting, squirming, pulling against my restraints that are biting into my wrist and my ankles. He swirls the tip around my navel, then continues to trail the leather tips out through my pubic hair to my clitoris. He flicks the crop and it hits my sweet spot with a sharp slap, and I come gloriously shouting my release. Abruptly awake, gasping for breath, covered in sweat and feeling the aftershock of my orgasm. Holy hell, I'm completely disoriented. What the hell just happened? I am in my bedroom alone. How? Why? I said, blood upright, shocked. Wow, it's morning. I glanced at my alarm clock, 8 o'clock. I put my head in my hands. I didn't know I could dream sex. Was it something I ate? Perhaps the oyster and my internet research manifesting itself in my first wet dream. It's bewildering. I had no idea that I could orgasm in my sleep. Kate is skipping around the kitchen when I stagger in. Anna, are you okay? You look odd. Is that Christian's jacket you're wearing? I'm fine. Damn. Should have checked in the mirror. I avoid her piercing green eyes. I'm still reeling from the morning's event. Yes, this is Christian's jacket. She frowns. Did you sleep? Not very well. I head for the kettle. I need tea. How was dinner? So it begins. We had oyster, followed by cod. So I do say it was fishy. Ugh, I hate oyster, and I don't want to know about the food. How was Christian? How did you talk about? He was attentive. I paused. What can I say? His HIV status is clear. He's heavily into role play, want me to obey his every command. He hurt someone, he tied to his bedroom ceiling, and he wanted to fuck me in a private dining room. Would that be a good summary? I tried desperately to remember something from your encounter with Christian that I can discuss with Kate. He doesn't approve of Wanda. Whose does, Anna? That's old news. Why are you being so coy? Give it up, girlfriend. Oh, Kate, we talked about a lot of things. You know how fusy he is about food. Incidentally, he liked your dress. The kettle has boiled, so I make myself some tea. Do you want tea? Would you like me to hear your speech for today? Yes, please. I worked on it last night over at Lila's. I'll go fetch it, and yes, I do love some tea. Kate reaches out of the kitchen. Phew, Catherine Cavenia, she's tracked. I slice a baguette and pop it into the toaster. I flush, remembering my very vivid dreams. What on earth was that about? Last night I find it hard to sleep. My head was buzzing with various options. I am so confused. Christian's idea of relationship is more like a job offer. It has sent hours, a job description, and a rather harsh grievance procedure. It's not how I emphasized my first romance, but of course, Christian doesn't do romance. If I tell him I want more, he may say no. I could jeopardize what he has offered, and this is what concerns me most, because I don't want to lose him, but I'm not sure I have the stomach to be his submissive. Deep down, it's the Ken and wives that put me off. I'm a physical coward, and I will go a long way to avoid pain. I think of my dream. Is that what it will be like? My inner goddess jumps up and down with cheerleading pom-poms shouting yes at me. Kate comes back into the kitchen with her laptop. I concentrate on my bagel and listen patiently as she runs through her valedictorian speech. I am dressed and ready. When Ray arrives, I open the front door and he's standing on the porch in his ill-fitting suit. A warm surge of gratitude and love for his uncomplicated man strides through me, and I throw my arms around him in an uncharacteristic display of affection. He's taken back, bemused. "Hey, Annie, I'm pleased to see you too," he mutters as he hugs me, sitting me back, his hand on my shoulders. He looked me up and down, his brows furrowed. "You okay, kid?" "Of course, Dad. Can't a girl be pleased to see her old man?" He smiles, his dark eyes crinkling at the corners, and follows me into the living area. "You look good," he says. "This is Kate's dress." I glance down at grey chiffon heater neck dress. He frowned. "Where is Kate?" "She's gone to campus. She's giving a speech, so she has to be early." "Should we head on over?" "Dad, we have half an hour. Would you like some tea? And you can tell me how everyone is. Montesano is getting along. How was the drive down?" Ray pulled his car into the campus parking lot, and we followed the stream of humanity, dotted with ubiquitous black and red grounds, heading towards the sports auditorium. "Good luck, Annie. You seem awfully nervous. Do you have to do anything?" "Holy crap. Why has Ray picked today to be so observant?" "No, Dad. It's a big day, and I'm going to see him." "Yeah, my baby girl has gotten a degree. I'm proud of you, Annie. And thanks, Ray. Oh, I love this man." The sport auditorium is crowded. Ray has gone to sit with the other parents and well-wishers in the erect sitting, while I make my way to my seat. I'm wearing my black gown and my cap, and I feel protected by them. Anonymous. There's no one on the stage yet, but I can seem to steady my nerves. My heart is pounding, and my breathing is shallow. He's here, somewhere. I wonder if Kate is talking to him, interrogating him maybe. I make my way to my seat amongst fellow students, whose surname also begins with S. I am in the second row, affording me yet more anonymity. I glance behind me and spot Ray, set up high in the bleachers. I give him a wave. He self-consciously gives me a half wave, half salute back. I sit and wait. The auditorium fills quickly, and the puzzle of excited voice gets louder and louder. The rows of seats in front fills, one either side of me. I am joined by two girls whom I don't know, from a different faculty. They are obviously close friends and talk across me excitedly. At 11 precisely, the Chancellor appears from behind the stage, followed by the three Vice-Chancellors and then the senior professors, all decked out in their black and red regalia. Worsted and applaud our teaching staff. Some professors nod and wave, others look bored. Professor Collins, my tutor, my favorite teacher, looked like he's just fallen out of bed as usual. Last on the stage are Kate and Kristen. Kristen stands out in his bespoke grey suit, copper, highlights glittering in hair under the auditorium light. He looks so serious and self-contained. As he sits, he undoes his single-breasted jacket, and eye creams his tie. Holy shit, that tie! I rub my wrist reflectively. I cannot take my eyes off him. His beauty and distracting as ever, and he's wearing that tie on purpose, no doubt. I can feel my mouth pressed into a hard line. The audience sits down and the applause ceases. Look at him. One of the girls beside me breathes enthusiastically to her friend. He is hot. I stiffen. I'm sure they are not talking about Professor Collins. Must be Kristen Gray. Is he single at Bristol? I don't think so, I murmur. Oh, both girls look at me in surprise. I think he's Gray, I mutter. What a shame. One of the girls groans as the Chancellor gets to his feet and kicks off the proceedings with his speech. I watch Kristen softly scanning the hall. I sink into my seat, hitching my shoulders, trying to make myself as insuspicious as possible. I fell miserably as a second later his grey eyes find mine. He stares at me, his face impassive, completely inscrutable. I scream uncomfortably, hypnotized by his glare, as I feel a slow flush spread across my face. Unbidden, I recall my dreams from the morning, and the Moscow in my belly to the detachable clean stain. I inhale sharply. I can see the shadow of a smile across his lips, but it is fleeting. He briefly closes his eyes, and on opening them, he resumes his indifferent expression, throwing a swift glance up at the Chancellor. He stares ahead, focusing on the WSUV emblem hung above the entrance. He doesn't turn his eyes towards me again. The Chancellor drones on, and Kristen still doesn't look at me. He just stares fiercely ahead. Why won't he look at me? Perhaps change his mind. A wave of unease washes over me. Perhaps walking out on him last night was the end for him too. He is bored of waiting for me to make up my mind. Oh no, I could have completely blown it. I remember his email last night. Maybe he's mad that I haven't replied. Suddenly, the room erupts into applause as Miss Catherine Kavanagh has taken the stage. The Chancellor sits, and Kate tosses her lovely long hair behind her as she places her papers on the lectern. She takes her time, not intimidated by 1,000 people growing at her. She smiles when she's ready, looks up at captivated throng, and launches eloquently into her speech. She's so composed and funny. The girls beside me erupt on cue at her first joke. Oh, Catherine Kavanagh, you can deliver a good line. I feel so proud of her at that moment. My errant thought of Kristen are pushed to one side. Even though I have heard her speech before, I listen carefully. She commands the room and takes her audience with her. Her theme is What Next After College? Oh, what next indeed? Kristen is watching Kate, his eyebrows slightly raised, in surprise, I think. Yes, it could have been Kate that went to interview him, and it could have been Kate that he was now making indecent proposal to. Beautiful Kate and beautiful Kristen together. I could be like the two girls beside me admiring him from far. I know Kate wouldn't have given him the time of day. What did she call him the other day? Creepy. The thought of the confrontation between Kate and Christian makes me uncomfortable. I have to say, I don't know which of them I'll put my money on. Kate concludes her speech with a flourish, and spontaneously everyone stands, applauding and cheering her first standing ovation. I beam at her and cheer, and she grinds back at me. Good job, Kate. She sees as she does the audience, and the chancellor rises and introduces Christian. Holy shit, Christian is going to give a speech. The chancellor touches briefly on Christian's achievement, CEO of his own extraordinarily successful company, a real self-made man, and also a major benefactor to our university. Please welcome Mr. Christian Gray. The chancellor pumps Christian's hand, and there is a swell of polite applause. My heart's in my throat. He approaches the lectern and surveys the hall. He looks so confident, standing in front of us all as Kate did before him. The two girls beside me lean in, enraptured. In fact, I think most of the female members of the audience inch closer, and a few of the men. He began, his voice soft, measured, and mesmerized. I am profoundly grateful and touched by the great compliment accorded to me by the authorities of WSU today. It offers me a rare opportunity to talk about the impressive work of the Environmental Science Department here at the university. Our aim is to develop viable and ecologically sustainable method of farming for third world countries. Our ultimate goal is to help eradicate hunger and poverty across the globe. Over 1 billion people, mainly in Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and Latin America, live in abject poverty. Agricultural dysfunction is rife within those parts of the world, and the result is ecological and social destruction. I have known what it's like to be profoundly hungry. This is a very personal journey for me. My jaw falls into the floor. What? Christian was hungry once? Holy crap. Well, that explains a great deal, and I recall the interview. He really does want to feed the world. I desperately racked my brain to remember what Kate had written in her articles, adopted at the age of 4, I think. I can't imagine that Grace starved him, so it must have been before then, as a little boy. I swallowed my heart, contracting at the thought of a hungry gray-eyed toddler. Oh no, what kind of life did he have before the Grey got hold of him and rescued him? I am seized by a sense of raw outrage. Poor fucked up, kinky, philanthropic Christian. Though I'm sure he wouldn't see himself this way and would repel any thought of sympathy or pity. Abruptly, everyone bursts into applause and stand. I follow, though I haven't heard half his speech. He's doing all of these good works, running a huge company, and chasing me at the same time. It's overwhelming. I remember the brief snippet of conversation he had about Darfur. It all falls into place. Food. He smiled briefly at the warm applause. Even Kate is clapping. Then he resumed his seat. He doesn't look my way, and I'm off later trying to assimilate this new information about him. One of the vice chancellors rises, and we begin the long, tedious process of collecting our degrees. There are 400 to be given out, and it takes just over an hour before I hear my name. I make my way up to the stage between the two giggling girls. Christian gazes down at me, his gaze warm but guarded. "Congratulations, Mr. he says as he shakes my hand, squeezing it gently. I feel the charge of his flesh on mine. "Do you have a problem with your laptop?" I frowned as he hands me my degree. No. Then you are ignoring my emails. I only saw the mergers and acquisitions one. He looked quizzically at me. Later, he says, and I have to move on because I'm holding up the line. I go back to my seat. Emails. He must have sent another. What did he say? The ceremony takes another hour to conclude. It's interminable. And finally, the Chancellor leads the faculty members off the stage to yet more rousing applause, preceded by Kristen and Kate. Kristen does not glance at me, even though I'm willing him to do it. My inner goddess is not pleased. As I stand and wait for our road to despair, Kate calls to me. She's heading my way from behind the stage. Kristen wants to talk to you, she shouts. The two girls who are now standing beside me turn and gap at me. He sent me out here, she continues. Oh, your speech was great, Kate. It was. Wasn't it? She beams. Are you coming? He can be very insistent. She rolls her eyes and I grind. You have no idea. I can't leave Ray for long. I glance up at Ray and hold my fingers up, indicating 5 minutes. He nods, giving me an okay sign, and I follow Kate into the corridor. Behind the stage, Kristen is talking to the Chancellor and two of the teaching staff. He looks up when he sees me. Excuse me, gentlemen. I hear him murmur. He comes towards me and smiles briefly at Kate. Thank you, he says, and before she can reply, he takes my elbow and stares me into what looks like a man's locker room. He asks to see if it's empty, and then he locks the door. Holy shit, what does he have in mind? I blink up at him as he turns on me. Why haven't you emailed me or text me back? He glares. I'm not lost. I haven't looked at my computer today or my phone. Crap, has he been trying to call? I tried my distraction techniques that's so effective on Kate. That was a great speech, thank you. Explain your food issue to me. He runs a hand through his hair, separated. Anastasia, I don't want to go there at the moment. He closes his eyes, looking pained. I've been worried about you. Worried why? Because you went home in that death trap you call a car. What? It's not a death trap, it's fine. George regularly services it for me. George, the photographer. Christian's eye narrowed, his face frosting. Oh crap, yes, the beetle used to belong to his mother. Yes, probably her mother and her mother before her. It's not safe. I've been driving it for over 3 years. I'm sorry you were worried. Why didn't you call? Chase is completely overreacting. He takes a deep breath. Anastasia, I need an answer from you. This waiting around is driving me crazy. Kristen, I've left my stepdad on his own. Tomorrow I want an answer by tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow. I'll tell you then. I blink at him. He stepped back regarding me coldly and his shoulders relaxed. Are you staying for drink? He asked. I don't know what Ray wants to do. Your stepfather? I do like to meet him. Oh no, why? I'm not sure that's a good idea. Christian unlocked the door, his mouth in a grim line. Are you ashamed of me? No. It's my turn to sound separated. Introduce you to my dad as what? This is the man who deflowered me and wants us to start a BDSM relationship. You are not wearing running shoes. Christian glares down at me, and then his lips twitch up in a smile, and in spite of the fact I'm mad at him, my faith is unwillingly put into an answering grind. Just so you know, I can run quite fast. Just tell him I'm your friend, Anastasia. He opens the door and I head out. My mind is swelling. The Chancellor, the 3 Vice-Chancellor, 4 Professor, and Kate stare at me as I walk hastily past them. Holy crap! Leaving Christian with the faculty, I go in search of Ray. Tell him I'm your friend. Friend with benefits, my subconscious call. I know I shake the unpleasant thought away. How will I introduce him to Ray? The hall is still at least half full and Ray has not moved from his spot. He sees me, waves and makes his way down. Hey Annie, congratulations. He puts his arm around me. Would you like to come and have a drink in the Mercure? Sure, it's your day. Lead the way. We don't have to if you don't want to. Please say no, Annie. I've just sat for 2.5 hours listening to all kinds of jabbering. I need a drink. I put my arm through his and we stroll out with the throng into the warmth of the early afternoon. We pass the line for the official photographer. Oh, that reminds me, Ray drags a digital camera out of his pocket. One of the album, Annie. I roll my eyes at him as he snaps a picture of me. Can I take the cap and gown off now? I feel kind of ducky. You look kinda ducky. My subconscious is at her snacky best. So, are you going to introduce Ray to the man you're fucking? She is glaring at me over her wing-sharp spectacle. He do be so proud. God, I hate her sometimes. The Mercure is immense and crowded. Students, parents, teachers, and friends, all chattering happily. Ray hands me a glass of champagne or cheap frizzy wine, I suspect. It's not chilled and it tastes sweet. My thought turns to Kristen. He won't like this. Anna, I turn, and Ethan Kavanagh scooped me into his arms. He tossed me around without spilling my wine. Some feet. Congratulations. He beams down at me, green eye twinkling. What a surprise. His dirty blonde hair, tousled and sexy looking. He's as beautiful as Kate. The family resemblance is striking. Wow, Ethan. How lovely to see you, Dad. This is Ethan, Kate's brother. Ethan, this is my dad, Restel. They shake hands. My dad, coolly assessing Mr. Kavanagh. When did you get back from Europe? I asked. I've been back for a week, but I wanted to surprise my little sister, he says comparatorily. That is so sweet, I grind up at him. She is valedictorian, couldn't miss that. He looks immensely proud of his sister. She gave a great speech. That she did, Ray agreed. Ethan has his arm around my waist when I look up into the frosty grey eyes of Kristen Grey. Kate is behind him. Hello, Ray. Kate kisses Ray, and both shake, making him blush. Have you met Anna's boyfriend, Kristen Grey? Holy shit. Kate, fuck. All the blood drains from my face. Miss Tell, it's a pleasure to meet you, Kristen says smoothly, warmly, completely unflustered by Kate's introduction. He holds out his hand, which all credit to Ray. Ray takes, not showing a hint of the drop, their surprise. He just had thrust upon him. Thank you very much, Catherine Kavanagh. I fume. I think my subconscious has fainted. Mr. Grey, Ray murmurs. His expression indescribable, except perhaps for the slight widening of his big brown eyes. They slide over my face with a, when were you going to give me this new look? I bite my lip. And this my brother, Ethan Kavanagh, says Kate to Kristen. Kristen turns his arctic glare on Ethan. who still has one arm around me. Mr. Governor, they shake hands. Christian holds his hand out to me. Anna, baby, he murmurs, and I nearly expire at the endowment. I walk out of Ethan's grasp, while Christian smiles easily at him, and I take my place at his side. Kate grins at me. She knows exactly what she's doing. The Vinks, Ethan's mom and dad, wanted a word. Kate drags Ethan away. So how long have you kids known each other? Ray looked impassively from Christian to me. The power of speech had deserted me. I want the ground to swallow me up. Christian put his arms around me, his thumb skimming my naked back in a caress, before his hand clasped my shoulder. Couple of weeks or so now, he says smoothly. We've met when Anastasia came to interview me for the student magazine. Didn't know you worked on the student magazine, Anna. Ray's voice is quiet admonishment, revealing his irritation shades. Kate was ill, I murmured. It's all I can manage. Fine speech you gave, Mr. Gray. Thank you, sir. And stand there, your keen fisherman. Ray raises his eyebrow and smiles. A Ray genuine, bona fide Ray style smile. And off they go, talking fish. In fact, I soon feel surplus to requirements. He's charming, the pants off my dad, like he did you. My subconscious snap at me. His power knows no bounds. I excuse myself to go and find Kate. She's talking to her parents, delightfully as ever, and greet me warmly. We exchange brief pleasantries, mostly about their up and coming holiday to Barbados and about our move. Kate, how could you out me to Ray? I hissed at the first opportunity we won't be over our head, because I knew you never would, and I want to help with Christian's commitment issue. Kate smiled at me sweetly. I scored. It's me that won't commit to him, silly. He seems thrice cold about it. Anna, don't sweat it. Look at him now. Christian cannot take his eyes off you. I glance up and both Ray and Christian are looking at me. He's been watching you like a hawk. I do better rescue Ray or Christian. I don't know which. You haven't had the last of this, Catherine Kavanagh. I glare at her. Anna, I did you a favor. She calls after me. Hi. I smile at both of them. On my return, they seem okay. Christian is enjoying some private joke, and my dad look unbelievably relaxed, giving him in a social situation. What have they been discussing apart from fish? Anna, we're at the restroom. Back out front of the marquee and to the left. See you in a moment. You kids enjoy yourself. Ray heads out. I glance nervously at Christian. We pause briefly as the photographer scurries off, a blame from the flash. So you've charmed my father as well? As well? Christian's grey eyes burns and he raises a questioning eyebrow. I flush. He lifts his hands and traces my cheek with his finger. Oh, I wish I knew what we are thinking, Anastasia. He whispers darkly, cupping my chin and raising my head so that we gaze intently to each other's eye. My breath hitches. How can he have this effect on me? Even in this crowded tent, right now, I'm thinking nice style. I breathe. He chuckles. It's certainly become my favorite. I blow scarlet. You look lovely, Anastasia. This halter neck dress suits you. I get to stroke your back, feel your beautiful skin. Suddenly, it's like we are on our own in the room. Just the two of us. My whole body has come alive. Every nerve ending, singing softly, that electricity pulling me to him. Charging between us. You know it's going to be good, don't you, baby? He whispers. I close my eyes as my inside uncoil and melt. But I want more, I whisper. More? He looks down at me, puzzled, his eyes darkening. I nod and swallow. Now he knows. More, he says again softly, testing the word, a small simple word, but so full of promises. His thumb traced my lower limb. You want heart and flowers. I nod again. He blinks down at me, and I wish his internal struggle played out on his eyes. Anastasia, his voice is soft. It's not something I know. Me neither. He smiles slightly. You don't know much, he murmurs. You know all the wrong things. Wrong? Not to me. He shakes his head. He looks so sincere. Try it, he whispers, a challenge daring me, and he cocks his head to one side and smiles his crooked, dazzling smile. I gasp and laugh even in the Garden of Eden, and he is the serpent, and I cannot resist. Okay, I whisper. What? I have his full undivided attention. I swallowed. Okay, I'll try. You're agreeing. His disbelief is evident. Subject to the soft limit. Yes, I'll try. My voice is so small. Christian closes his eyes and pulls me into an embrace. Jesus, Anna, you are so unexpected. You take my breath away. He steps back and suddenly rays return, and the volume in the mercury gradually rises and fills my ear. We are not alone, holy shit. I've just agreed to be his sub. Christian smiles at Ray, and his eyes are dancing with joy. Annie, should we get some lunch? Okay, I blink up at Ray, trying to find my equilibrium. What have you done? My subconscious screams at me. My inner goddess is doing backflips in a routine worthy of a Russian Olympic gymnast. Would you like to join us, Christian? Ray asks. Christian, I stare up at him, imploring him to refuse. I need space to think. What the fuck have I done? Thank you, Mr. Stell, but I have plans. It's been great to meet you, sir. Likewise, Ray responds. Look after my baby girl. Oh, I fully intend to, Mr. Stell. They shake hands. I feel sick. Ray has no idea how Christian intends to look after me. Christian takes my hand and raises it to his lips and kisses my knuckles tenderly, his scorching eyes intent on mine. Later, Mr. He breathed, his voice full of promises. My belly curled at the thought. Oh my, hang on later. Ray takes my elbow and leads me toward the entrance to the tent. Seems a solid young man. We're off too. You could do a lot worse, Annie. Though why I had to hear about him from Catherine, his cause, I shrug apologetically. Well, any man who likes and knows his fly fishing is okay with me. Holy cow, Ray approves. If only he knew. Ray draws me back at the house at dusk. Call your mom, he says. I will. Thanks for coming, Dad. Wouldn't have missed it for the world, Annie. You make me so proud. Oh no, I'm not going to get emotional. A huge lump formed in my throat, and I hug him hard. He put his arms around me, bemused, and I can't help it. Tears pools in my eyes. Hey, Annie, sweetheart. Ray crowns. Big old day. Want me to come in and make you some tea? I laugh. In spite of my tears, tears is always the answer according to Ray. I remember my mother complaining about him, saying that when it came to tea and sympathy, he was always good at the tea, not so hot on the sympathy. No, Dad, I'm good. It's been so great to see you. I'll visit real soon once I'm settled in Seattle. Good luck with the interview. Let me know how they go. Sure things, Dad. Love you, honey. Love you too, Dad. He smiles, his brown eyes warm. He climbs back into his car. I wave him off as he drives into the dusk. I wander listlessly back into the apartment. First thing I do is check my cell phone. It needs recharging, so I have to hunt down the charger and plug it in before I can collect my messages. 4 missed calls, 1 voice message, 2 texts, 3 missed calls from Kristen, no messages, 1 missed call from Josh, and a voicemail from him wishing me all the best for graduation. I open the text. Are you home safe? Call me. They are both from Kristen. Why didn't he call the house? I head into my bedroom and fire up the main machine. From Kristen Gray, subject tonight, date May 25, 2011, time 23:58, to Anastasia Stell. I hope you made it home in that car of yours. Let me know if you are okay. Kristen Gray, CEO, Gray Enterprise Holding Incorporated. Jess, why is he so worried about my battle? It has given me 3 years of loyal service, and Josh has always been on hand to maintain it for me. Kristen's next email is from today. From Kristen Gray, subject soft limit, date May 26, 2011, time 17:22, to Anastasia Stell. What can I say that I haven't already? Happy to talk this through anytime. You look beautiful today. Kristen Gray, CEO, Gray Enterprise Holding Incorporated. I want to see him. I hate reply. From Anastasia Stell, subject soft limit, date May 26, 2011, 1923, to Kristen Gray. I can come over this evening to discuss if you do like. Anna. From Kristen Gray, subject soft limit, date May 26, 2011, time 1927, to Anastasia Stell. I will come to you. I meant it when I said I wasn't happy about you driving that car. I'll be with you shortly. Kristen Gray, CEO, Gray Enterprise Holding Incorporated. Holy crap, he's coming over now. I have to get one thing ready for him. The first edition Thomas Hardy books are still on the shelf in the living room. I cannot keep them. I wrap them in brown paper and I scrawl on the wrapping a direct quote from text from the book. I agreed to the conditions, Angel, because you know best what my punishment ought to be. Only don't make it more than I can bear. And this is the end of chapter 14.